So first of all, I wanted to welcome everybody. Please type into the chat who's around, where you're from, and where you're connecting from, and maybe your name as well, so we can actually see who's online with us today. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Katja Hensel. I'm a business coach. I'm a mom. I'm an entrepreneur. I've worked in the travel industry for many, many years. And I have decided to actually start this series of webinars to help people, to support people, to help people get through this really difficult time, to give you energy and to motivate you and to actually tell you we need to produce things, we need to be active, and the only thing that is not allowed is to not do anything, to be just, you know, stranded, to feel stranded, and to be kind of, to feel kind of like impotent right now, no? Like a lot of people do. So I think it's allowed to feel that way for a little bit, but then we need to actually start going and get all our energy together and our focus and so on. So I am very, very, very proud to say that I have two very special guests today, and I would like to introduce them to you. So first of all, in the center, we have Louise Evans, and she's a wonderful person from the UK, but lives in Tuscany, Italy. Louise is an author. She has written a wonderful book called The 5 Chairs, 5 Choices, and she's also developed a whole program around her book, or I don't know what came first, the book or the program, or the program or the book. So she will tell us all about that later on. She's also a TEDx speaker. She had over 2.5 million views. Maybe afterwards you can kind of get a glimpse and see what that's all about. And she's also a behavioral coach. I have met Louise about 3 years ago during a business course that we did for like a whole year together in San Marino. And I really appreciate so much knowing her, even though we have not really connected so often, but I feel like we have a lot of things in common. And then I would also like to introduce to you Patrick de Sepibus. And Patrick and I met 7 years ago. Is that right? 7 years ago. Oh my goodness, it's such a long time ago, in Phuket, Thailand. And we were not on a beach vacation. We actually worked very, very hard, 14 to 18 hours. And we did a coaching course online with the legendary T. Harv Eker. Maybe some of you have heard his name. And Patrick is a coach. He is a lot of different things. He actually does e-learning programs. He works with companies. He's a consultant as well, and he's a healer. And that's how I have learned to appreciate Patrick very much, because he has healed some people that are very, very dear to me. And I'm very, very grateful and very thankful for the rest of my life. Thank you. You'll tell us all about this. So first of all, thank you all. Thank you all for being here. Let's see. Have you typed in your names? Where are you from? Dominique from Paris. Hello, Dominique. Then we have Ivan. And let's see. You beautiful people. Can you write down where you're from? I hope everyone is being able to connect. We have 37 people online as we speak right now. So if you type in where you're from, that would be lovely, so we can say hello to everybody. Okay, so first of all, generally it's ladies first, Louise, but we're going to go first with the gentleman from Switzerland today, with Patrick. Okay, so Patrick, tell me a little bit about what you do. I mean, you have one business that's, you know, you're a company coach and so on, but what I'm interested in is the healing process and the healer profession that you have. So when exactly did you find out that you had this gift of healing people?
In fact, I really found out the gift. I was looking at different things. In 2007, I discovered personal development. And so my first thing I did was walk on fire with Tony Robbins. And I did that in London with 14,000 other people, and that was a great discovery for me for the ability to have personal power on your life. And
you didn't burn your feet.
I didn't burn my feet, and today I was giving, because right now I can't, but I was giving training to do walk on fire as well. And that was the beginning of the story, and I found that really interesting, because before that I never thought that we had such power in ourselves.
Okay, and how does that work exactly? Can you elaborate a little on this and kind of explain to us what it entails? Like, what do you do? What's the magic?
So magic comes just after. And so I did some trainings with Tony Robbins, and then with T.R. Baker, and that's where we met. And with other, I did many courses. And one day I was promoting with some friends some walks on fire in Switzerland, and we were in a fair, and one person just next to us really liked what we were doing. And at that time, I was really into the we can say the matter, like physical things. Like I trust only what I see or what I can touch. And even walk on fire can seem strange, but still it's something I understood. I was able to do it, and I knew tools to do it, and so on. And the guy just next to us was really interested in what we were doing, and he was helping us bringing customers to the walk on fire. And at that time, I was also, my father was really sick. I don't know, how is it called in English? It's SLA in French, syndrome lateral amorphique. It's the same kind of sickness that this astronomer had, was in a wheelchair. I don't know if I'll get the name after. And this guy suddenly said, "Oh, can you keep my stuff, because I want to hear one of the greatest healer in the world. So he's giving a conference." And myself and my friends said, "Yeah, sure, go." And we were not really interested in that healing things, because it was like too much for us. And he came back from the conference, and we had a little chat, and I said at that time, "My father is really sick." No, I didn't say he's really sick. I said, "My father is sick. Can you think that something can be done through this healing?" And he said, "Oh, sure." And I took a class 20 years ago with Martin, and I can do that. And he started a distant healing right at that time. And after 20 seconds, he stopped, and he said, "Your father is not only sick, he's really, really sick, and he doesn't want to heal." And I was like, "What?" And I took my phone, called my father, and I took from him such a body. I mean, he was really angry at me. And he said, "Yeah, all your bullshit and things. And anyway, I don't want to heal." I was like, "What?" The guy just told me a few minutes ago that my father didn't want to heal. And that was the first time I was hearing that from my father. So it's a bit of a coincidence, or maybe there's something there. So I went to know a little bit more about that, and I went to took a class with the person who gave that conference on that day, Martin Boffman. Martin healed himself from a terminal cancer from the cervical.
Okay. His back, he had a back.
Yeah. And that was in the 70s. And I met Martin after in 2008. And when he got this terminal illness, it was supposed to be terminal, because all doctors were saying it's not possible to heal. I mean, we cannot do anything. He started to find other reality, other way of explaining things. And so he went at a certain time to a class, and maybe you heard of it, the Silva method.
No, no.
Okay, Dr. Silva is one of the father of positive thinking. One.
Can I ask you something, Patrick? So, okay, so you actually found out that there was like distinct healing, and there were like healers that would actually cure people and so on, and you really get into this. And I have to say, actually, when I met Patrick, we were in a meeting room, okay, and in his very sexy French accent, he would actually, you know, because he noticed I was not feeling very well, because we sat in a meeting room for literally like 14 to 18 hours, and he touched my back and he said, "I can heal you." And I said, "Why would you want to kill me?" So, and that was the beginning of our friendship. He said, "No, no, not kill, heal." So, and he literally put, like, he didn't even touch me, but he literally put his hands on my back, and my headache went away, like, boom, it flew by, it like was gone. And he did something very similar with my dad, actually, who had something much more severe, and with a few other people that I know of. So I know of your powers, okay, but what exactly do you do? There's something with the chakras that you do, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, can you explain a little more what exactly that is that you do? I mean, what it is that you do? That would be great.
So what I do is different. One thing is to bring back in balance the different chakras that we have.
Okay.
So we work on the 7 chakras, the 7 human chakras. One is about security, another one is about variety, another one is about power, another one is about love, another is about expression, contribution, giving and receiving. One is about vision, and one is about connection to God, or whatever you call the universe, the source, or whatever belief you have about. And the idea is, yeah.
Sorry. No, I wanted to ask you, but the person that you're healing needs to agree to be healed, correct? Is that true?
We can do healing without the person knowing, and he will feel better. And then the healing will work depending on what he's going to accept or from that. But yet, it's better when it's asked, because when it's asked, then we can give a true feedback of what we seen and experienced during the healing. Because the idea behind the healing from Martin Bofman is called mirror, body mirror method. I have to do it in English. And the idea is our body is a reflection of our consciousness.
Okay.
So whatever we are experiencing is a reflection in our body. So if
okay, can I ask you something? Oh, sorry, no. Go ahead.
So if we are experiencing a symptom, whatever is a symptom, it means something, and we can translate that in words that relates to what's happening in our consciousness. So that's the only thing.
Now, my question is, how do you, as a healer, how do you describe negative thoughts? Like, if we have negative thoughts, and a lot of us right now are in a situation where we have negative emotions, the little voice that's nagging and that actually keeps telling us all the terrible things that are happening and that are involving us as well. And how can we deal with negative thoughts? What do negative thoughts like this do to us, to our system?
Okay, so if we look at fear, stress, anxiety, they produce an hormone which is cortisol, and cortisol is not good for the immunity, the immune system in our body. So if we experience too much fear, we will experience symptoms. What does it mean? It's, our consciousness is not in balance because it's experiencing fear. The situation right now is very, very, very problematic for many, many people. At the same time, it's just a question of perception. What do we perceive in this situation? And lots of people are experiencing really good things right now due to the situation. Maybe they have time to connect with people they didn't connect for a very long time, or they have time to spend with the family, or they have time to concentrate more in some part of their business that they didn't have time before to do it. And it's just a question of perception. So we are experiencing, the world is experiencing something really different from usual, but which lens we are looking at it. And Louise will talk about the 5 chair, and it's a different kind of lens. And
what do you tell people who have just lost their job, they don't know how to feed their kids? I mean, it's hard to feel positive emotions and think positive thoughts, no? If you have trouble making it to the end of the month and making ends meet, I mean, what do you do when this happens? When you're in a bad spot, like, what do you suggest? What do you tell people? What can they do to feel better?
So the first thing, the people can come to me and tell me, I'm afraid that I cannot feed my kids. It's just a perception of the future, which is right now not happening. So what's happening now? Are you alive right now? Are your kids alive? Are you able to do something? And to concentrate on the present moment. Future is just, can be expectation, can be needs, can be whatever, but it doesn't exist yet. It exists only in your mind. And it's because it exists in your mind in a bad way that you are bringing yourself down and giving you less possibility to work on it. And that's not the healer who talks, it's more the coach who is talking like this. And when we do a healing, we do it in the present moment. And we are perfect in the present moment.
So what you're telling me is that negative thoughts make you sick.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So negative thoughts make us sick. And what do we do to overcome them? We live in the present moment.
We come back to the present moment. Recognize everything as what's good in our present moment.
Mm-hmm.
And you know,
how do you do that?
How do you do that? One of my mentor, maybe you know him, Joseph McClendon, he's working with Tony Robbins a lot. And I worked a lot with him, and I was directly trained with him a long time ago. And he's writing every day something that he did that was positive or good, or what was
like a gratitude journal.
Yeah,
gratitude
journal,
journal,
yeah. I'm grateful because I can do that.
Every morning.
Yes, and he has tons of little journals since years. He's doing that. And one key to that is to find the little things you can be grateful for. Because there's so many little things we can be grateful for. I had the chance as well to meet Vujicic, you know, the guy who was born without arm, without legs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, poor guy. Yeah. But, I mean, he's just had a child, no, not too long ago. So
yeah, he's not going. He has a great life. He has a great life because he is able to focus on what he's able to do, not focus on what he's not able to do.
Yeah, but that's very human, no? But what do you do if, I mean, this question is also for Louise, of course. What do you do if you have a panic attack? If you have anxiety attacks, you know, because this happens to all of us. We're all human. And there are moments when we are having a sleepless night, we don't know what's going to happen, and we focus on just that. So what do we do then? I mean, there are techniques like breathing techniques, or what I learned today, actually, I learned the tapping. The tapping.
Yeah. EFT,
you know,
very
tapping?
powerful. Yeah.
You know the tapping?
Yeah.
It's very, because you think of something negative, then you translate it into something positive, like, and then you do the tapping, and then in the end, after having done the tapping, which is very, very interesting, it's a very interesting technique, then there's no way you can still feel something negative.
Yeah, it's gone.
So that's actually one of the very powerful techniques. So what do you think, Louise? Do you have any ideas of how you can get back to the now when you have an anxiety attack?
Yeah. I think it's very important not to try and be positive. You know, very often we sort of stress ourselves out more by trying to force positive thoughts on ourselves. You know, I think part of it is also going into the moment of pain and just being with it rather than resisting it. You know, and I think you said it. It's one of the most important things is breathing, is taking deep breaths. And I know it's difficult, but I mean, it's certainly something that I learned is that if you are in pain, you need to stay with it and go through it and come out the other side. And breathing will help you be present enough to the pain. Very often when we push it away, then it's going to come back again. I haven't tried helping myself, but then it's another way of redirecting the thoughts rather than superimposing it with positive. I must do positive thinking, which I don't personally agree with. I don't think the mind. I think the mind resists that. Then other activity like breathing or like tapping, as I said, I haven't tried. I think for me,
it's very powerful.
Sure.
Actually, so the negative emotions that kind of take over our whole system sometimes, it's really hard to tackle them, no? When you're like in it, like inside the emotion. And I believe that it's just so important to step out of it for a moment, no? When you're so in it, then to just pause and wait and kind of reflect. And I think Louise actually has something very important to say about this. So could you actually tell us a little more about your book and your project? It's like an entire project, no? It's like a whole strategy that you have developed, Louise, about the 5 chairs, the 5 choices. So what is this? What is this all about? Like, why did you actually write this book? That's my question.
Right. Why did I write the book? Yes, 5 choices. It's funny, isn't it? I never ever thought that I would have ever written a book, but I think the book is the result of a personal journey that I went on myself, and the personal journey involved me around about the age of 30, which is a bit late in life, looking at myself and saying, I've got some behaviors that I don't like about myself. And I want to do something about that, because before I was enjoying life saying, well, you know, everybody else is wrong and I'm right, until I woke up to the fact that maybe
we all do this at some point.
Maybe I have some responsibility for maybe relationships which are not working out very well, or conversations which are not working out very well. And it was like, okay, let me have a look at myself. That was scary, because as soon as I started doing the deep inner work, because when I realized that I wanted to be a better person, I wanted to improve the behaviors that I had, which were holding me back. It took me into the sphere of some amazing teachers who were my guides, and in many ways still are in my spiritual life, who are Marshall Rosenberg of Nonviolent Communication, unfortunately no longer with us, Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist monk, again elderly, and let's hope we're not losing him, and also Eckhart Tolle, the German
living in the now.
Yes, the life of now. Yeah. So I had the honor to frequent these 3 extraordinary men in quite an intense way, doing retreats, intense weekly retreats, etc. And they deeply affected me. And I learned that you can change, you can make an impact on your own life. And so that for me was an extraordinary, important learning. And as I came through my various thresholds of pain, and I became more balanced as a person, I thought the first thing I'm going to do now is help other people do it too, because you can. You just need to want to, but then you need the help. And I think what happened is that I put everything that I ever learned from anybody who was wise and helpful, and I have been blessed by meeting extraordinary people in my life. put it all together and out came a package called the 5 chairs. And so the
So
book.
what are the 5 chairs exactly? Like, are they actual chairs? And how does this work?
Well, actually, what I do is I train in companies. Right now, I train in organizations, and when I'm training, I actually have 5 physical chairs. But look what I've got for you here. I've can't look. Here we are.
Oh, oh, you brought the 5 chairs.
Yeah. Isn't that cute? Now, the beautiful thing about this and Patrick is that I chose the colors because they represent the chakras, only 5 of them. They have, the thing about the 5 chairs is that each chair has a color, it has a name, it has an animal metaphor, and when we are sitting in the chairs, our behaviors are different, they change. So, for example, if we go back to what Patrick was saying before, when we find ourselves sitting in the red chair, and the red chair is the jackal chair, and it's called the attack. And I borrowed that from nonviolent communication, actually. When we're sitting in that chair, then we misbehave, basically. I mean, we tend to complain and moan and groan and blame. I mean, if you look, actually, these behaviors come from a situation where we're uncomfortable in life, when we're under stress. I mean, if you look at what's happening right now with the COVID, we're going through massive change. They're bringing up the big emotions, and then we're going through the curve of change. And very typically at the beginning of the curve of change, we can get denial. I mean, if you looked at all the countries slowly across the world that went through the phase of denial, saying, I mean, we're sitting in Italy, and we've watched the same conversation happen time after time as countries where, oh no, it's not going to happen to us. We're
but it's
fine.
so easy. Sorry to interrupt, Louise, but I think it's just so easy to complain. I mean, people seem to not be happy if they can complain.
It's a human sport. It's one of my favorite human sports. I think if we stop complaining, we'd stop talking, probably. And we love blaming.
What a shame, but what a shame. There's so many nice things to talk about and to be said. So
yeah, but it's easier to be negative.
I know. Unfortunately.
But it's funny.
Okay, I'm all curious. Go on. So that's the jackal chair.
Okay, so what we're trying to do is to become aware. I mean, when we go into blame and complain and we're saying, oh, it's the Chinese, it's the Americans, it's this, whatever, then it's like, wait a minute, what? I mean, obviously each chair will have an impact. If you're sitting in the jackal chair, the impact is fairly negative. And it's exactly going back to what Patrick says. I mean, you're in the world of threat, and so you're reacting with fight and freeze, and all your negative emotions are coming up, and all the chemicals that are making us react. So this is the attack chair. Okay, we're there very often, but can we also very, very simple? I could just send you a look, something like this, which is, what is she talking about? That's from the jackal chair, because it's a judgment, and we adore judging people. We do it most of the time. Whether it's just like, what's that thing she's wearing around her neck right now? I'm looking at you. I can choose to, you're wearing something around your neck right now. You see that necklace? And I can have the thought, which is, why the hell does she wear that? It's distracting to the people watching. Now that is a jackal thought. Of course, I'm judging you.
Sorry to interrupt, but it's so easy to judge people, no? And it's so hard not to. I think, that's for everybody, no?
That's what we do. We go bzzz, judge. Like you don't like, you're not really interested. Next, Patrick.
Well, that's called insecurity as well, no? Don't you think?
It's often the mask which covers up insecurity. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
exactly.
Which brings us, but we're there a lot. And I think the thing about the chairs is that, we sit in all of these chairs. But we all judge and other people judge. We have to be careful not to judge other people for judging, because we all do it. I think it's all about taking responsibility and maybe bringing less judgment into the world, or complaining and moaning and groaning, because it's toxic. especially now, I think, in our families that we're at home and we're finding ourselves in situations that we're not used to being on top of each other 24 hours a day. It's, what is our responsibility is, can we turn the volume down on this particular chair and try and bring more productive behaviors into our space to create a culture, a home culture, which is warm and loving right now, which is what we need. And also people who are on smart working, the same as we're working with our colleagues, etc. We all have the power to create a culture around us. And that all depends on the way we're thinking, the behaviors that we are producing in every moment. And we always have a choice. So if you go into the jackal chair and it's you're going to have results. You're going to get things back. Somebody might go back, and then you end up watching programs in 2 different rooms in your home. So that's the first. And the other one, which is not very productive, which is a sweet chair, however, is this yellow one here. Now, Patrick, the yellow chakra. What's the name of the yellow chakra?
The yellow chakra is power, the plexus, solar plexus.
Right. Exactly. So that's the solar plexus, and it's called the hedgehog chair. I called it that for good reason, is because instead of attacking, which is what the jackal does, this is curling in on yourself.
Yeah.
And it's about the fear, and it's exactly what you said, Patrick, is what distinguishes us as human beings is we can imagine a future.
Mm-hmm.
And it's problematic because in a situation like COVID-19, if we spend a long time in this chair, we will be imagining catastrophe in some way. We will be imagining, telling ourselves stories which are negative. Is what am I going to do? I haven't got a job. I'll never be able to get back to where I was before. The world is in a mess. We go into catastrophe thinking very often. Yeah.
And the result of this chair, sorry to interrupt, is you get all blocked. You're not productive, as you said. So you're like blocked and nothing moves anymore. Yeah. Like you shut down and it's hard to act upon anything anymore.
Get frozen. And it's so important when we're in this chair, because what happened to us is, what do we do when we're in this chair? I think we really do have to take care of ourselves, and we need self-empathy. It's like saying, these things happen, and I have to be careful about the way I want to think about it. Again, if we're projecting ourselves into the future which doesn't exist, then we are creating a process of thinking which is going to have a negative impact on us. So we need to really give ourselves a good hug. That's what I do, is that when I feel that I'm, it's just, go in a corner and give myself a big hug, is things will pass. And we forget actually how resilient we are. As a human species, we are incredibly resilient if you look at what we have survived over the millions of years. And if you look as an individual at what you have survived, we can move through it. So, these 2 chairs here are the chairs which hold us back in life. But, they need a bit of tender love and care.
Let's throw them out.
No, not throw them out. We have to, no, because they're part of us. And they're actually looking for attention. They're looking for attention, don't worry. Looking for attention, we need to stroke them and say, I see you, you're okay, you're fine. It's like the inner child. You're looking after your inner child.
Okay, it's a progress. It's no?
Yeah, it's a progress, and it's part as well of accepting ourselves.
Yes.
And it's really that, and it's accepting the way we are, what we live, the pain we are, the difficulty we have. And as Louise said earlier, you don't want to just go on positive and try to, because it's a must, and then it's difficult because we don't like musts. We don't like to be talked about what we need to do. But to accept this part of us.
It's a growth progress, no? It's like a process and a progress, no, that we're making, if I understood that correctly. So I apologize. We're gonna keep them.
Yeah, we're gonna take care of them. Because they will
very good care.
The jackal is actually trying to protect us. because it's about survival. It's about fight, fight, and freeze. Yeah, and the same thing here is it's the inner child saying, "I don't know what to do. I need help and attention." But often, what do? We scold ourselves. We beat ourselves around. I'm not good enough. I can't. I'm not enough. All the sabotaging comes here, and there again,
And
it
I
needs
think,
to be
you know,
love,
Louise,
basically.
I really think we're our worst enemy, no? Oftentimes, because no one will treat us as badly as we treat ourselves. So, I mean, we just beat ourselves up like, oh, you're not pretty enough. You're too old. You're too, like talking to oneself, obviously, you know?
I mean, it's the inner critic, which is very strong, you know? And I think it's looking at that voice and saying, and accepting it and loving it because it wants attention, I think, most of the time.
Okay.
So until we can love ourselves and we learn to really take care of ourselves, which we must do now, we can't take care of other people. You know, it's about strengthening ourselves. So these two are, okay. Now, this one here, you mentioned it before, Patrick. The green one is the chakra of the heart. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the animal in this chair is actually the meerkat. So the meerkat is, you know, this extraordinary animal, like
you guys, do you all know a meerkat? It's the one
in the Lion King.
Isn't that the cat? The meerkat
in the Lion King. In the Lion King.
Oh, the Lion King, not in Ice Age. The one with the
no, that's not the one with the eyes on the side. Yes, it's suricato. In Italian, it's suricato. A suricat. Lives in South Africa. You won't find many of them in Europe. But this is, you know, a beautiful chair because it's. I think it's probably of all the 5 chairs, the pivotal chair, because it's where we say, stop. It's called the wait chair. And it's really, okay, something's happening like COVID-19. We need to stop, think, take a deep breath and reflect, basically. Because what we do is in our lives, we're running all over the place. We never take time to sit back, step back. And this is extremely important, to step back and observe what is going on around us. I mean, some beautiful things are happening as we are on pause, like it's like a big pause button is pausing the whole world right now. And we're at home and we have time for private thought at last. And you look out the window and you don't see white strips in the sky. There are no planes flying. Everything is quiet. Nature seems to be reborn in some way. There is this beautiful silence, which we're not used to. And obviously, the way you deal with silence is a very personal thing. But it's a time to stop and reflect. You know what worries me an awful lot from this chair is there's another virus, which I think is just as dangerous as the COVID. It's social media. There is positive messaging going out there, but there is some very negative messaging going out in our world right now. A lot of myths, a lot of fake news, a lot of everything. And we have to, in this chair, it's about choice. What do we choose to give attention to?
But you know what, Louise, can I say something? I believe that this silence, you know, this incredible silence, by some people can be viewed as beautiful, by others, it becomes very noisy. You know, it becomes very noisy in your own head. This terrible silence that we're not used to. And all of a sudden you have to confront yourself.
And it's like, it's like sort of like being on a retreat and not having to pay the money to do it. I mean, did you notice the reactions very often of people as they went into shutdown? There were parties everywhere. There was sort of frenetic activity online, on the net, as though it was like scary to be alone. And I think now we're going through the curve of change and we're slowly adapting and we're getting used to actually being with ourselves, which I think is a very positive thing because, you know, we need to meet ourselves more, meet our demons, look at them in the face and, you know, ask, who am I? What do I want? You know,
but that's sometimes very hard, no? To be with oneself all of a sudden after our frenetic lives have come to a halt. You know,
Yep.
we used to be on our phones, on the computer constantly, in our cars, going from A to B to Z to D. So, I mean, it's really, really hard to all of a sudden, boom, stop and confront yourself with yourself and to have to reflect, which we're not used to anymore. So it actually does take a while to accept even just that, no? The quiet and calm.
Yeah, and to sit into it. I mean, and I think, thank you for that, because, you know, so this is the meerkat chair, it's the weight chair, and it's the, I always have choice chairs, like, you know, what am I going to do here in this situation? Going back to what Patrick said, is there are some things you can change and have an influence on, and there are other things that you can't. And that brings me into this chair here, the blue one, which is, as you said, Patrick, so it's the chair of speaking up. It's the chair of expression of self-awareness, basically. And going back to what you said, Katia, I love that, is that in this chair is, unless we do the work and ask ourselves, and this comes directly from nonviolent communication, what am I feeling? What do I need right now? If we learn to look at our fears and go into the emotions and name the emotions and link the emotions to the needs which are not being met in the moment, is incredibly powerful and healing, because we release them into the world. But we're not very good at doing that. We don't have the language of feelings. We're not very sophisticated in that. I think we need to learn it. But this is the dolphin chair. Why don't
beautiful.
The dolphin is one of the few mammals that, when it looks at itself in a mirror, sees itself and not another dolphin. So, you know, it's all about looking at my self-reflection. It's all about responsibility as well. Is my job is to be responsible. It's my ability to respond to life. Now, nobody can tell me how to do that. I need to make that decision. But it's about, and in fact, I was speaking to a dear friend of mine the other day about stoicism. And in fact, resilience comes from the old school of stoicism, where, I mean, the old school, the beautiful school, where you needed courage, you needed moderation, and you needed wisdom. This is the chair which is saying, you know, I need to look at myself, I need to understand myself, I need to create my boundaries, I need to be able to speak up, I need to be vulnerable and courageous, I need to understand who I am. And this can take a lifetime, but it's about it's an antidote to this one here. Is I recognize myself and I help myself grow. It's a beautiful chair because it's a lifetime.
That's beautiful. Actually, sorry, no, go ahead.
No.
No, I was just saying, I actually give workshops, like emotional intelligence, you know,
That's right.
Emotional intelligence workshops. And they're so popular because people really look inside of them and they really try to understand who they are, what they need. They put names, they tag their emotions and find out, okay, knowing and understanding the emotion, that's exactly what you just said, Louise. I can now comprehend it and I can act upon it. Yes, exactly.
And you also actually slightly change it so you can manage it better as well, which is very, very important.
This is so powerful.
It is, and as I said, it's the basis of nonviolent communication as well. It's really coming into touch, knowing yourself, and the more you do it yourself, the more you know others.
It's also, exactly, yes, exactly. I so agree. Couldn't I just, let's hold on. Oh, Eve Tidwell from America. Hello, Eve. May I just read this real quick? We have been raising children on the go. Everyone is loving, okay. Everyone is loving, getting to get to know their house, their yards, their family. We have forgotten a very basic communication process with our family, how quiet it is in so many places, with our mouths covered with masks. We're helping our neighbors and total strangers. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for saying this, Eve. We'll also address everything everyone else says, but let's actually have Louise go on for now with her.
coming into this chair here because it's what she's saying, helping our neighbors. Because if this chair is all about who am I, what do I need to do? I mean, in this chair in COVID-19, we have to be resilient. We have to look after ourselves. We have to be disciplined. We have to be rigorous about going out. You know, we have to contribute to the requests of the medical world. We all get through that. So there's a hell of a lot of responsibility, again, the ability to respond in the right way, because we're influencing everybody around us. And here we're in the last chair. This is the detect chair, like, because we're detecting ourselves. You know, we're constantly reading ourselves. We're self-monitoring. We're self-regulating, because very often here our emotions are in control of us. And here what we're trying to do is get our emotions under control, you know, because we're looking at them, we're embracing them and greeting them. The last chair, which is, I think, the most challenging and the one we need most right now, is this is the, Patrick, the chakra is the third eye. Is that right?
Yes.
Because yes. So there's the wisdom there. It's the giraffe chair. So we're talking about the animal with the biggest heart of all land animals. And again, this is a beautiful metaphor that comes from nonviolent communication. And here it really is about the acts of compassion that we need to think about now. Compassion, the chair of empathy. We're working from our hearts. We're really trying to can we put ourselves in the shoes of the doctors and nurses in the front line right now? Can we put ourselves in the shoes of immigrants, for example, in the situation, the people who have no homes, and here we are sitting in a privileged situation doing the webinar, but what about the people that don't have anywhere to go and eat? But not only that, but in general, we're all in the same boat in a very, very challenging situation. Can we really call on our empathy to understand one another? And what can we do? What acts of passion? How can we expand our hearts a little bit? And how can I help my neighbor? Maybe what can I do? We've down the road. There's a basket outside because Italy's done some fabulous things, you know, and the world is following on. There's a basket in front of in the chemist. So every day we put food in it. You know, it's a little gesture, but it's the question we ask ourselves here is, how can I help other people? This is how can I help myself? But obviously you need to help yourself and try and be in your power, in your courage and in your stability and in your peace in order to help other people. So once you are there, then you can go up and say, how can I contribute in any way I can, which is possible, being stuck at home, you know, and if you sit down and think about it, there are many things that you can do. And even when you're going shopping, you know, like another lovely thing that happened, there were a couple of young boys who stuck notices on the doors of houses saying, if there's any of you who can't go shopping, let us know, we'll shop for you. This is our phone number. Yeah.
That's so beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, little gifts that even something as simple as, you know, I'm in a condominium here with 6 or 7 families. We were all hanging out the windows, just talking to each other. We don't ever do that actually when in our normal lives. And it was a moment of uplifting something as very simple as human contact, in being the wave of the same ocean, and sharing that, how beautiful that can be. So small but so important. And so that's the
actually, you know, I have a friend who the other day posted something on Facebook. She actually said to all the people in my town, which is a little town close by, close to the beach here. And she said, if you know of anyone who can't make it to the end of the month, please tell them to contact me privately, and I will do my best to help them. I mean, how beautiful is that, no? It gives you this warm feeling. And it is so amazing. Yeah, what a big heart she has.
The beautiful thing about that is altruism. And, you know, living in Italy, altruism is the word for others. You know, and I only thought about that the other day. I've been living here for 30 years, for heaven's sake. Altruism is other people are beautiful. So this is, I mean, I think the message of the 5 chairs with COVID-19 is we really need to try and manage these two and move as much as possible to activating these 3 here. You know, in particular the indigo one, which is the empathy, but we have to look after ourselves,
Yeah.
at the same time.
What is your suggestion for everyone, like for the participants of this webinar today? Like, what is your advice that you're giving everyone?
Well, with the 5 chairs, it's about, you need to take a mirror to yourself, and if you are snapping at your partner or barking at your children or doing something like that, it's like saying, just a minute. And it's like saying, okay, I'm doing this because I'm stressed. It's taking the consciousness of what your behaviors are. Give yourself a hug. Do something. Forgive yourself. Ask for forgiveness. Maybe say, I'm sorry. And I think if we can only just concentrate on keeping our families safe, keeping our families in a loving state. Also, when we're out in the streets, to be very vigilant about the way we are with other people and protecting other people. And we're very egotistical because we all nip out and do things, and we think, well, there's not going to be anybody else out there, but then there's a whole town up there. Is let's be mindful. Maybe let's be very
mindful. I love that. Actually, you said something very important just now, Louise. You talked about communication. If you snap at someone, if you get aggressive, or you just lose it. And this does happen these times, no? Especially if you live with someone, with your children, with your partner, and you're not used to having them around 24/7. So what I find very, very important is to communicate wisely, especially also with our children, because they may be too small, they don't understand this, and we can really harm them if we communicate in the wrong way, especially someone who may have lost their jobs, who's totally desperate, and so on, who is in a bad situation right now. Don't take it out on your kids, and don't actually say out loud, oh, tomorrow we're not going to have any food in the house, or, we're going to lose the house that we live in, they're going to kick us out, because it does leave scars. I really believe it leaves very, very profound scars if you do this, as a parent. So we as parents, and I have one daughter only, but I have 2 bonus kids. My boyfriend has 2 kids. But we try to communicate them in a very wise way. This has not always been the case, and my daughter has been harmed because I was in a bad spot, not due to any viruses, but due to like financial problems and whatnot. And I've really harmed her, and I feel so guilty right now. And what we can do now is to not let our kids in on everything that's going on. I don't think, especially not the little ones that will not understand, but to be wise when we communicate with them. Also when we're aggressive, go to the bathroom and scream it out, do something, but don't actually take it out on your children.
Yeah, it's all about one thing, it's about expressing your emotion, finding the right words. And unfortunately, we never learned that at school. We never learned that. And it's so important. And one thing that this COVID is making us learn now, we are all together in this. We need to communicate. We need to help each other. We need to be in our chakras, on the green chair, on the blue chair, on the violet chair. We need to be on those ones. And the modernity we had before is really the red and the yellow chair. And it's just reminding us, move from don't forget them, but move from those. And that's where we are right now. And this experience we are all living together is just reminding us we never did what needs to be done, is to move there.
Yeah, I love that word.
Shift for humanity, and it's really positive, in fact, because without this, we will stay on those 2 yellow and red chairs. We will continue to work out, don't reflect, don't connect with the people we are supposed to love, but we don't have time to love them because we forget them. And we don't know how to use those things. So I highly recommend everyone to go and read the book from Louise, because that explains this part, how to communicate. or to go on your car, catch up.
Yeah.
Right now,
I love what you,
right now,
I
I
love what you,
on
and I just love what you said, because it's all about that. Is once you recognize where you, I mean, this gives you a chance to sort of look at yourself and say, where am I? And say, if I'm here, it's not going to help. It's not going to be productive. So let's move. And it's about, okay, I have a choice. I don't have to be a jackal, or I can recognize it, and then I can give myself a big hug. But then it also helps us when the jackal chair going, then from a parent, it's more about saying, not about scolding them. It's more about saying, are you feeling upset and frustrated because you can't play outside? Are you feeling fed up because, can we recognize their emotions and empathize with them? Because usually their reaction is then, yes. And they'll calm down. But if we deny them their emotions, tell them to stop doing it, they're going to react back, and then it escalates,
Patrick just said something very interesting, that, all these things are not being taught in school. So the 5 chairs are not only important for businessmen and in leadership, or, but it's also very, very important for the individual, I think, for anyone. Anyone can learn so much from the 5 chairs. And even especially children, when they're old enough to understand and reason, it's important to understand what kind of emotions there are. I don't know if you remember this movie that came out, the Disney movie, what was it called?
Inside Out.
Inside Out, yes, awesome movie. It's all about the 5 emotions. There's so many more than just 5 emotions, but for the very first time, has this been tackled, no? Like, to actually talk about the emotions and to help even kids understand emotions. Beautiful. So, this is like super powerful for anyone. Yeah.
And kids actually get it faster than adults, in a way. We're wanting to take it into children now and work with schools, because kids will come up with all sorts of wonderful things. You can just explain it to them quite quickly, and they'll say things like, "Oh my God, I spend all my time either on the jackal chair or the hedgehog chair, but in particular hedgehog chair, but I want to be a dolphin." So they get it, but they can just see themselves, and then they can change. That's
Listen, I wanted to actually ask our participants here, our viewers, if you have any questions for Patrick, for Louise, or myself. So in the meantime, please write down your questions that you may have. We also have hello from Prague, hello from Poland, hello from India. Oh my goodness, hello from Paris. This is so exciting. Wow, you're from all over the place. And we also have Olya. She says, what a great idea with these chairs. In the Harvard main yard, you can find same colored chairs. Did you suggest that idea for their creative education solutions?
No. That's interesting.
Louise had no idea. Now maybe you should actually connect. That's so cute. Okay, so Olya, I believe, is from America then. By the way, without COVID-19, I have to say, this webinar probably would have never happened. And, Louise is from the UK, but lives in Tuscany, and Patrick is from Swiss, from Switzerland, beautiful Switzerland. So we are still somewhat connected, but this would have probably never happened. So I wanted to thank you guys very, very much for being available. And Louise, would you like to actually show us your book real quick?
Oh yeah, there we go.
Okay, let's see. Oh,
like
5 chairs, 5 choices, exactly.
Yeah. It's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon, and if you're also interested, maybe can you type it in? Actually, can you type it in? Otherwise, I'll write it.
Type it in. Yes. Let's see. Where a chat with the ghosts. The ghosts with the.
Why can't I type it in?
Can you type it in? I'm in a balancing act with these chairs. 5 chairs, 5 choices.
5 choices. Louise Evans.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So there you go. Mhm.
It can be
A very interesting book. And also, if you wish to see her, Louise, on TED Talks, she's also on TED Talks. As I said, 2.5 million visualizations. Wow, that's pretty amazing, actually. Complimentoni. That's really, really good. So let's see. Does anyone have any questions? No, I don't see any other questions. Francesca, thank you for smiles and suggestions. Katya from Prague says, we will have the book in Czech soon. Really?
Yes. Katya, thank you, Katya. She's one of my coaches, my ambassador in the Czech Republic, because we're now building a team across the world who are representing the 5 shares.
Oh, look at this. That's wonderful.
Wonderful.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We translated it into Italian as well. It's coming to the market soon. So
okay, but your courses are mainly in English, or do you also give them in Italian?
Yes, English and Italian. Yeah, both.
Okay. Oh, both. And Patrick, one last thing. I wanted to find out from you, like, if anyone was interested in having you be their healer. So would people contact you through your?
They can contact me through my website or through my Facebook.
Okay, we will send you both your websites. Okay, we will send you all the websites, and I can tell you what Patrick does is very, very powerful. I learned firsthand, and I'm very grateful. My dad is healthy, and so is a good friend of mine, Valeria, actually. So and that's in large part thanks to you and your vibrations.
Beautiful.
Yeah, no, really. I mean, I believe in those alternative methods, you know. I mean, oftentimes doctors say, oh, no, but I really have to say it worked for us. So, and
I can't believe, Katya, it's so beautiful. When you told me that Patrick worked on the chakras, it was like, wow, we were meant to be together on this call. It's extraordinary. Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah.
Thanks to Katya, and really, it's amazing because Katya called me once or twice a year just to refer me someone that needs healing, and had great experience with people who couldn't believe what happened to them, really, because one person was one day before an operation and she didn't need the operation anymore after the healing. And things really powerful. One person had a cancer and it's gone, and it's like, wow. And I really recommend people not to call me and work with me. That's not the most important. The most important is to understand that we all have this power. This power on ourselves and on others as well. And Katya, you're a mom. Louise as well, I think you're a mom. And you experienced like this long time ago when you told your kids that like just got hurt and something, and you said, "Oh, I make a kiss and the pain is gone." Remember that?
Wow.
Yeah, you did it the same, and that's what I learned. That's what I learned with healing. It's really close for me healing with coaching. Because we are doing the same. It's about perception. It's about the power of our own words, or the ability to go out of the problem and to look at different angles and so on and so on. And that's the power of taking care of ourselves. And that's really about the blue chair.
Yeah.
And I take responsibility. I can look at what I'm doing. I can understand. And that's so powerful. And now we have the time to do that.
Yes.
2 months ago, you didn't have the time to do it.
This opportunity, everybody. This is an amazing opportunity we have. I really believe so. You know, I'm taking my time to actually work on so many projects and on writing my book that I had started a long time ago, on like working on new projects and on actually spending time with myself as well, which I never do because I'm so busy generally. And it's beautiful. It is a huge opportunity. And I mean, this is probably one of the last things we're going to say because we're a little over time already. So I apologize. But it's a huge opportunity. And please take a step back and take this opportunity and embrace it, no? Because this, after all, is also the title of the webinar. It's the power of embracing uncertainty. It does not mean that, I mean, it means that you accept it. You accept the uncertainty and you take it one day at a time and you look at it in a positive way. That's all.
Yeah.
So, would you like to say anything else, beautiful people? Louise, would you like to say, what's your last sentence? I don't know.
I think there was a beautiful thing that the Japanese wrote on boxes which they delivered. Using for medical supplies. They said, "We are waves from the same sea."
Yes.
Oh, beautiful.
It is, especially from the Japanese culture, and I think let's try and remember that sometimes as we're about to jackal people and jackal the governments, jackal everything, is we are in a very difficult situation that we haven't seen anything like that in our lifetimes. Can we find some humanity and can we find the loviness, the deep loviness that we can share all around, first with ourselves so that we can share it out with everyone else, because it's a time of great challenge. So I want to send my love to everybody and really stay safe, stay at home, stay safe, and look after yourselves. We will come through.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Louise. And you, how about you, Patrick? What would you like to give people on their way tonight? What would you like to say?
Learn and do things to reconnect with yourself and your heart. It's really about that, and you have the time right now, and really it's an opportunity for everyone. And if we are all wave of the same ocean, if you want to ride the wave, start to paddle. Like the surfer paddles before the waves comes, and you start to paddle. And the paddling is about sitting in the blue chair, on the green chair, on the violet chair, not the other chair. And it's about learning to love yourself, learning to connect with others, even more to express yourself as well. You can be angry, you can be stressed, but don't stay in that situation. Just learn to accept it, embrace it, and then move forward. And it's really about that. And we, as you said, Katja, we all had difficult time in our lives, but we learned to take one step at a time, one day after one day. And that's why we are here, and that's why we can be positive about it.
Yeah, I so agree. Okay, we have Eve Tidwell one more time. When we really live in the now, everything is uncertain. Well, good, yeah. That's true. Okay. Okay, no, and we didn't have any other comments. Anyway, thank you so much, the two of you. Greetings and kisses to Switzerland, kisses to Tuscany, and you all be well, be awesome, everyone, and I hope we'll see each other very soon and we can hug each other. So wonderful, like a real hug. Okay, let's spread some more love tonight, okay? And thank you so much. Grazie mille, merci.
Merci.
And have a lovely evening. Okay, bye-bye.